Hi, Brazil. Hello, Phoenix.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. I'm so thrilled to talk to you. I have a few questions on the how to deal with negative experiences. Because in my case, it's funny because until recently, I used to say I never had a physical experience. I only have with my clear senses. I can sense the presences, and that's how I have like the ET contact, but never physically. But then I remember I was flying from Buenos Aires in Argentina to Brazil. I was on an airplane right few minutes after leaving Buenos Aires. And then I was looking, the sky was very cloudy, and I saw something like brown made of metal, huge thing leaving from the one of the clouds. And I just thought, I didn't think it was a craft or anything. I only thought, if I had a UFO, I would hide it in a cloud. That was my thought.
Yeah.
A second later, I had this huge headache, and it took me 2 hours to go back to my normal. And then only later, I thought, could it have been a psychic attack or something like that? Do you have an experience with that? How would because I wasn't.
Many. The more that you become, like James Gilliland says, the more that you reach nirvana, the more the demons raise like basically, what is it? The more that the demons raise their head, the more that you reach nirvana, the more that the demons will rear their head. Is the way it goes. So I didn't think about negative stuff really when all this started. I've experienced reptilians, serpent beings, archonic energies. What's happening is, again, remember how I said a lot of these beings don't see you as a human, they see your light body? Well, even the dark energies were once masters, but they lost their way. So they're still advanced in their own way, but they haven't reached a certain level of consciousness. Like they've lost that level of consciousness. Now, it can be headaches. It can be what I call a psychic attack. On top of that would be something you did 20 years ago that you put on a loop about, or anxiety about an event that won't even happen, but you keep thinking it's going to happen. They will play with your thoughts and ideas and put you on a loop. What's happening is they're trying to trigger the R part of the brain that the reptilians introduced, because when that's triggered, it feeds the AI that's holding a frequency that feeds the reptilians, archons, and draconian networks. And the demonic, archonic, it's all, I call it the lower light. All those energies are part of the same thing. They are real. They do exist. Their job is to siphon our energy so they can stay in existence. But there's a positive effect, meaning if we raise our frequency, they can't affect us. So we see it as an opportunity to raise our frequency. Now, a thing with this is prayers. Clearing. If you go to petermaxwellslattery.com or ecetiaustralia.org or eceti.org with James, we have free clearing techniques and types of prayers.
Yes.
Now, intention is number one. Intention of bringing in whatever colored light. It could be Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Ganesh, it could be anything. Whatever you feel, Kuan Yin, whatever energy you feel in line with. But it can even be God, source, creator. Go straight to the source. Now, from that place, they are prayer clearings. But what I say to people because I do clearings and stuff for others, and what I say is, you may hear me do a prayer, but I'm working on a multidimensional level to where I'm using the blueprint with my consciousness, and I'm blasting things with light. I'm rectifying the energy bands and neutralizing and enhancing energies wherever your higher self says that energy should be to operate at optimal efficiency. And then you put yourself in a dome of protection, only allowing the energies that you're working with to penetrate that, to communicate with you. So it's your soul family or your guides that you're working with. So there's different techniques, there's different devices out there to assist with that. But I think what I say to people is, don't do what I do. Give it a go, but change the wording, mix it up, change it, burn incense, do sage, then do a prayer and a clearing. It's basically shifting the mind, shifts the energies. And there's a lot of hitchhikers and things that can get on an energetic form. sometimes you might walk through a neighborhood where, say there was a drug overdose or a murder, and that energy is hooked onto you just from walking through there. Sometimes these energies actually need assistance getting to the light because they've got amnesia about what to do, or they're lost with what to do. So, or it could be that somebody OD'd on drugs and you feel like you're drugged out, but you haven't had anything, and it could be energy from that being or residual energy that you've gone through. Mm-hmm. So I guess the best way I can describe it is, if you don't like what you're feeling, do a clearing, do a healing, reset the energies, because this is where, if the world knew about this in school, the world would be so far ahead, because they would be trained in these types of existences and things that can and do happen.
Some people just need a suggestion or a way to start, and then you can create your own way
that's what I mean. Like, people can just see that, and some people keep using the one that I've got, but I always say, if you want to change it, mix it up, create your own version, do what your heart's. You got to operate from here, not here. Operate from the heart.
Yeah. Great. What I saw, this orb, this huge orb, was Nazi technology. And it's still operational in the underground. Well, do you have any idea what it is?
The Nazis have, and this is in the Shiji material as well. So the Nazis there was beings from Aldebaran, which were offshoots of fallen Atlanteans. Mm-hmm. Now, what they're using is lower light technology that is very advanced, but it's not advanced as when you've got a high level of consciousness, you've got access to better technology. So they got good stuff, but it's not the best. Now, what happened was, from the Nazis, it was converted to Project Paperclip, but they didn't know that the Nazis was working with reptilians and other energies, fallen Atlanteans and other beings in Antarctica. That could be some type of part of an intelligence AI, because the AI, you've got to get out of, when I say to people, you've got to stop thinking of AI in terms of like a computer. They can get into forms of, create their own form of consciousness with the advanced ones, which are basically controlling and operating and overseeing a lot of these projects, included with the Nazis and things like that. A lot of shopping centers, the food courts, if you look at the food courts in the ceiling, they usually got glass domes. If you look down at a city and then you look down at a computer chip, they're identical. They're ciphering the energy out of food courts, out of shopping centers. And usually you can have bases connected to places like that, and it's around the entire world. You've got two grids. There was an old grid with the pyramids that was positive, connected to all the ancient sites. Then you've got a modern day, instead of pyramids, you've got skyscrapers, shopping malls. Think about the energy in those places. It's usually materialistic mind, sexual mind, negative thoughts. How can I look cool? It's all external. So those energies are being siphoned to the artificial intelligence. And I'd say that there may be a connection that it's a form of artificial intelligence or a type of advanced consciousness that's operating with them.
Yeah. I didn't know.
A trans-dimensional power source. Yeah, I'd have to really look into it, but there's many, there's even one place I was taken to with reptilians in there and a grey and a flying saucer. It was an underground base. I've had a handful of experiences in these facilities where I've been kidnapped. And there was an orb in there, but the orb didn't have a consciousness. It was a light. It's like they needed light down there for operations, and they just created, it's like they have technology to where they can create an orb, float it up to the roof of the cave, and it produces light.
Okay.
It's free energy. So there is that sort of thing as well.
Wow. I didn't know what this one was. I just had the feeling it was a bad thing.
You've got to go with that. So if you feel that,
yeah, I felt it was a bad. Yeah, it's interesting because we have most of the information on the SSP and on the reptilians we have here come from the United States. And we tend to forget it's here. And we like to say, oh, it's far away. And we forget that Argentina is very close.
Yeah. Australia's got connection. Well, I think every country's got some connection to get there. And besides that, there are facilities and bases, I think, worldwide from my knowledge, that are connected with these programs. So I think the main thing is that everyone's focus is mainly on America. So because of that, and there's a lot more media we could say done there, it's more prevalent that you'll come across the whistleblowers like Corey Good and others that have come out with this material. And I'm friends with Corey as well, so I know his story quite well. But I think it's just like anything. Like, we've got a lot of people here in Australia that have experienced it, but we don't really see them online because we always get the American videos popping up, and it's more entertaining in some ways, and sometimes, you know, better editing or whatever. It's just more of a focus is on America. And I think it's because America is a core part to the disclosure and the unveiling because of the position they hold in the world.
Yeah. And I think, I think here we have this here in Brazil, but I think the difference that we don't know that's the only difference. So that's the main difference.
And that's how they want it. Those guys don't want it to be known. So, I've got a lot of information here in Australia with certain bases and where they are, and some of them I've been to, but it's something that nobody talks about or nobody's aware of. And I've spoke about it a few times, but it's just not really known about, not talked about. I think depending on the country's consciousness as well, if they're open to these sorts of things, you know, otherwise it's like, oh, you got to be crazy. No, there wouldn't be a base there, or there wouldn't be reptilians, or there's no space program. It depends on one's mind and how open they are.
Yeah. I think here in Brazil, we are much more open to spiritual activity. So if you're saying ghosts and people who died and things, people are okay. Everybody believes it happens. You always know someone who's been through something like that. But in many places where people are having spiritual work, the ETs usually show themselves as like Indians, or we have a culture in which old black people are known to be very wise, and many people connect to them. So they show themselves as old black people, and you think it's like a regular person, and then after some time they say, well, I'm not exactly like that, but I had to look like that so you could talk to me and accept me. And then you realize, and then you say, what? You're not human? So I think we're, because some famous psychics here in Brazil are starting to say they talk to dead people as well as nature spirits, and it happens.
No, I think from the work that I've done over many years now, basically, I think places like Japan, Italy, Mexico, and I get a lot of people come to me from Brazil, funny enough, as well.
Wow.
And it doesn't surprise me, but what I say to people is those countries are further ahead than America and Australia and England and Canada. And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, they know all this exists. They're like, where do we go from here? I said, everyone else in the normal Western countries, they're like, oh, do they exist, don't they? I'm like, they see a UFO in Mexico or Brazil. They're like, oh, there's another UFO. They're like, we don't care that they exist. We're like, where do we go from here now to interact or go to that next level? So in a lot of ways, Mexico, down to South America, like Brazil, Japan, Italy, places like that, you guys are further along than other countries in the spiritual development of wanting to meet these beings halfway. And I'm not just saying that. I've found those countries over many years now, it's like, we're trying to work out if UFOs are real. You guys are past that stage. We're on to where do we go from here? You know?
Yeah, it's funny because my father is very skeptical about everything. But he tries not, and there's a saying which goes something like this: there are no witches. I know there are no witches, but I kind of believe them. And it goes the same with the ETs and all the psychic activities and all that. It's pretty much like that. We just accept it's part of our reality, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's
like, let's go accept these ETs. Yep. It's just accepted. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, great.
I think just final words is just everyone be the best person that you can, and that's all we can ask. If enough of us do it, we're just going to change the world. It's as simple as that. So everyone's at their own level of evolution and consciousness, and if everyone just be the best person that they can be, that's all we can ask. Yeah. Good. All righty. Blessings. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.